Howdy, I'm Dick Ware, math teacher, coach, and the fishing club sponsor at Riverside Brookfield High School. 10 years ago, I took 6 boys to Red Lake, Ontario to fish for walleyes and northern pike. The next year, it increased to 11. The third year, it was 14. On the way home, the boys asked me if I'd sponsor a fishing club at school. I had no idea what I was getting into. At our first meeting, we had 72 boys and girls show up. And since then, we've averaged between 40 and 50 in our membership. We meet once a month studying the various techniques of fishing, and then we try out what we've learned on local lakes up in the chain of lakes, Lake Michigan. But really, the culmination of our year's activities is our annual trek to Black Bear Lodge in Red Lake, Ontario. We're there, we fish for walleyes, northerns, and lake trout. What you're going to see here in the next few minutes are a few excerpts from a videotape that I took this past summer, and I think you'll enjoy the experiences that these boys had this past summer. It's fairly entertaining, and I think it's also very interesting. Our trip starts the first Saturday in August. We take off at 5:30 in the morning from RB, stay overnight in Orr, Minnesota, and then leave from Orr and arrive at Black Bear Lodge on Sunday afternoon. We unload the vans and begin to haul our gear down a logging road into camp. Are there any fish in this lake, Kim?
They're all gone.
The first evening in camp, Eric Larson and Jeff Wateska went out into the bay right in front of the lodge and caught a couple of nice walleyes. Later that night, Kim lectures the boys on boat safety, use of maps, camp conduct, and KP procedure. What were the sizes of the fish?
You got a 3.5, 4.5, 7.5, and a 9.5. This is a 9.5.
9.5. Boy, that's a dandy. What'd you get those on anyway?
And they call them those kings, silver king.
Silver king?
Yeah.
What color?
Silver with a blue edge on it, and silver with a white edge on it. 4 and a 5.
Holy cow! How long were you out there before you caught that one?
The first one, which was this one, got him out there 15 minutes after we got there.
Oh my!
Right off the island,
Heavens.
Sister Island, and then we got one about a half hour later. That's where about 60 feet of water. And then we got 2 of the smaller ones, the 3.5 and the 4.5, in about 100 feet.
100 feet of water?
Down, yeah.
How long did it take you to get those in?
I didn't even know I had them on there. I thought they were perch.
I don't know if I'd admit that or not. This is Mark Solis with a 3.5-pound walleye caught on a crawler harness. Jim Zabladil with a 7.5-pound Laker. Jim's a 6-year veteran who usually catches walleyes, but this year is fishing for Lakers for the first time. Mark Slinkman, another veteran, has a lake trout that weighs about 5 pounds. The group caught about 8 Lakers the first day out. Mostly on night crawler harnesses. The second full day in camp sees Kurt Pavlu and Jeff Quintana with a nice stringer of walleyes and northerns caught in one of the many small portage lakes. This is a typical scene around 10 o'clock every night in the fish cleaning house. What'd you catch him on, Tony? Zara Spook down in Parker Lake. That's a nice fish.
6 feet of water. Go ahead.
You catch him on the first cast?
No.
This is your second year at Black Bear. Got a nice fish there. How long did it take you to get him in?
It took about 5 minutes to get him in and 15 minutes to get him in the boat. We didn't have a net.
Oh, he didn't have a net?
Trying to pick him up with the oars.
Let him hang down. Compare how long he is compared to you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a long fish.
Well, that is a big fish. He's just about bigger than you, Tony.
Nice hit. He's completely empty.
Beautiful, beautiful fish.
Take a look at it.
Another lake trout by Jim Zabladil.
How big was that one?
and a 9-pound northern by Jeff Witeska.
That's pretty good sized northern.
This is a northern pike,
Yeah.
and it resembles the one that I threw back in, which is still living right now.
Okay.
Let's go with that.
How big was it, Jer?
12 pounds.
12 pounds?
And this is probably about 14 or 15.
Right.
So, but 12 pounds is considered a lunker.
After you caught it, how long did it take to
35
revive
inches.
that after the fight?
Oh, that was the thing right there. I didn't know if I was going to be able to release it because when I let it go, it went belly up. And we went over and grabbed it. Matter of fact, now let's see, kind of like in the back here, and just pulled it back and forth through the water. And finally, it started getting a little bit of life in it. So then gave it a push, and it just sort of slowly moved away. Big, powerful fish. Didn't have any power at that time because he had fought so hard. And we followed it around and followed it into one spot where it just sort of lay there for a while and sort of flipped his fins, and then we went over to it to see if we could get it to move, and it really took off then. So I think it was safe, and it's out there, and hopefully somebody will catch it when it's 20 pounds.
Now this is
Pat Murray has a nice 4-pound walleye on his stringer,
Alex
and Alex
Patrick,
Rosapel,
fishing
a 13-pound
buddies, been
northern,
up here quite a few
all
years
caught on a
now.
worm harness.
And they just
This is Ray
came up for the
Flakus
first time
with his
last
first
year.
laker,
How much
a
did
nice
they weigh, Ray?
8-pounder.
And Kurt and Pete Pavlu just walked in the fish house, and they're holding up 3 northern pike and a nice laker there. What'd that laker weigh, Kurt?
Just around 10 pounds.
Around 10 pounds. How long was it? 28 inches, did you say before?
Yeah, middle of this one, yeah.
Yeah, I think that was, well, that was raised. That one's a little longer than that, I think. But it's a lunker. You also got 3 nice northerns there. What were the sizes of those?
Got a 5-pounder, a 9-pounder, and a 10.5.
And a 10.5. Lunker lake trout, that's the second one he's caught this week, I believe. You catch it in the same spot, Tom?
Same exact spot.
Well, I'll tell you, we must have pulled out 15 or 20 lakers in that same hole all week long. And I think that's a 5th or 6th lunker. How long is he?
He's 32 and a half.
How much does he weigh?
In a boat, 13 and a half.
13 and a half pounds?
12 and a half after we dried on.
Okay, that's a nice size. How many lakers have you caught
So this is my second fish. Only caught 2 and they're both lunkers.
Well, I guess you go for quality instead of quantity, don't you? It's too bad your dad can't do a little better on that.
He's got to practice.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Thanks a lot.
Eric
I see.
Larson shows off
So you
some
got
nice
4, 3
northerns and
northerns
walleyes
and a nice walleye.
that he caught
Pretty good
while
day for
throwing
you. You had a
outside
pretty
a
good
weed
week,
bed.
haven't you? Yeah, pretty good. There is where
We stay in log
all our
cabins,
older kids
some
stay
of which
fishing.
have just recently been built. All of the cabins overlook South Bay, which covers about 2,000 acres.
We've got woodchucks living underneath the cabins, and they're very tame. And you can see here 3 of our students feeding it. Very tame. Rabbits around here, ducks just walking around all the time, wild black ducks. Eating right out of the kid's hand. That's amazing. Clear up here in Canada, things like that happening. I doubt if he'll lick your hand, he might take it out, but he won't lick it like a dog. He better not get my sandwich I've got laying here on the ground.
Fishing fever, the kind that can't be measured by degrees. Fishing fever, there ain't no kind of cure for my disease.
Is he licking your hand, Pete? Yeah, he'll nibble on it. Don't let him bite it. Might think it's kind of tasty. Well, it's Thursday up here at Black Bear Lodge. August the 10th, I guess. And Don Trular and I have been out for, close to 4 hours, I suppose, fishing for lake trout. And we brought in 5 pretty nice fish. The biggest weighed about 10, and then we had one that weighed a little over 8.5, and another one that weighed about 7.5 or 8, and then we had a maybe a 3.5 or 4 and a 5, something like that.
Fishing fever, the kind that can't be measured by degrees. Fishing fever.
Well, it's Friday morning, our next to last day in camp, and we're going to take about a 45-minute boat ride down to a nice walleye lake called Parker, where we'll plan a shore lunch with the entire group today. It's about 6 or 7 miles down there, and our captain today is Jerry Thoma. He caught a nice big northern this week, released it. Here our boys seeing how good they are at taking boats and motors across a small waterfall here. This is called Parker Falls. It runs out of Parker Lake into Red Lake. This area here is a great spawning location for walleyes. In fact, you're not allowed to fish it between April and May. We got 3 boats across. This is the 4th one. We got 6 more to go. After everyone's across the falls, we'll catch some walleyes and have a shore lunch. Walleyes are easy to catch in this lake. In fact, Jeff Wateska has a fish on now. It's a pretty nice walleye.
Nice walleye, looks like.
This is the typical size in this lake.
Okay, way to go.
Well, it's time for our shore lunch.
And up there's Pete Topol and Pete Pavlou and Jerry Thoma starting to slice the potatoes and onions and get things started here. We're gonna have to clean a few fish yet.
Larry Pons and son Jason with Tony Bornhorst have a nice stringer of fish. It won't take long to clean them.
How many you got there, Jason?
Quite a few.
You don't know how to count, huh?
Oh, you haven't had your math class
That's
yet,
right.
Mr. Ware. Drew's got this special. You guys need mug grease?
Wonder why these guys aren't hungry.
Half a pound apiece?
So the grease goes off.
Somebody bring salt?
Yeah, there's salt and pepper.
How much you had already? 1. Okay.
These cooks won't be salting the fish. You salt them to your own taste.
Put them on the plate, man. They're hot.
After shore lunch,
Gotta net them on this side, Alex.
we return to some more fishing. Alex Rosipel has a small northern pike
What it
on.
is?
They're good fighters.
A snake.
We release most of them as Pat Murray puts this one back so he can grow to fight again someday. One of the organizers, Jim Jackson, from Mundelein High School, built his own airplane and agreed to fly over the area around Black Bear Lodge. It's a small float plane that holds 2 people. Sue Markshausen, wife of the owner of Black Bear, took these pictures. It's a vast area with dozens of islands and secluded bays. This is the entrance to South Bay from the main lake. This bay, where the camp is located, is well protected, so if the weather gets rough, you can always find a place to fish. It's a wild, rugged, but beautiful wilderness. It's no wonder most of our boys return year after year.
I seen him come up.
The last day in camp, 3 of the boys brought in some nice fish.
How many years you been coming up here now, Jim?
6,
6 years. How many lunkers have you caught now?
7.
7 lunkers altogether. And that's your first northern, I believe, isn't
Yep.
it? It's always been walleyes, and this year lake trout. Now you got that nice northern. What was that weight again?
14.
14 pounds. Boy, that's a nice one. This is Jason Pons. Now, his father's never even come near catching a fish like that. Can you explain why that would be true, Jason?
No.
There's just no explanation for it, huh?
He's a Parker brother.
Oh, he's one of the Parker brothers. Well, what'd you catch that fish on?
Little Joe with a Mr. Twister and a crawler.
And whereabouts?
Wolf Narrows.
And what was the size of that fish?
4.5 pounds, 23.5 inches.
That's really a nice one. Ray, where'd you catch that?
Right in front of the islands where they've been catching them all week.
Same place, huh?
Yep.
What'd it weigh?
16.5 pounds.
16, that's the biggest we've ever caught.
Yep.
How long was it?
37 inches.
37 inches.
Beautiful fish.
Here's a couple more lunkers.
Hey, that's a natural sponge.
Part of the success of this trip is due to the adults that go along. Don Trular, Ed Phillips, Jerry Thoma, Tony Bornhorst, Fred Wateska, and Larry Pons relate well to our students, and they have some memorable times also. One evening, Fred Wateska and Larry Pons were fishing after dinner. The weather turned stormy, and when they started back to camp, they became lost. After a couple of hours, they were finally rescued. To commemorate this ordeal, Tony Ruff and Brian Leverins wrote a song.
A ship set sail from Black Bear Lodge on a very rainy night, and with the intention to catch some fish, especially the pike, especially the pike. The weather started getting rough, the tiny ship was tossed. If not for the courage of Kimbala, Mr. Pond would be lost. The Commodore would be lost with Mr. Pons, Wateska too, Waldo, and Mr. Tuma, Barney Horse, and Rudy too, all at Black Bear Lodge.
Well, I hope you enjoyed our little video presentation. What you have just seen here is pretty typical of what has gone on the past 10 years up at Black Bear Lodge. Our boys get a lifetime of memories in just 1 week, and at the same time, they're learning to conserve our natural resources and have a lot of fun while they're doing it. I think I see a big one out there.
Fishing fever. There ain't no kind of cure for my disease. They call it fishing fever. The kind that can't be measured by degrees. Fishing fever. There ain't no kind of cure for my disease. No, there ain't no kind of cure for my disease.